All right, it's Wednesday, and we are live for another episode of the Cole Memo. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, X, Twitch, and other platforms. And in today's stream, I will be sharing an update that came out for medical cannabis patients and caregivers. If you're catching this later and wondering how to tune in live, I'd say the best way is to head to colememo.com/YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you never miss a live stream. This podcast is also available for streaming on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and other platforms. And a lot of my content releases on Patreon first. It's a really good way to support the show. It's just $3 a month to become a member. Members get access to episodes before they release to the public. And just a quick heads up, if you're on an Apple device, I recommend signing up for from a computer or a non-Apple device, because Apple is greedy, and they add extra fees on top of what I feel is the very fair price of $3 a month for my content, which isn't ideal. But again, big tech always wants their cut, right? Ultimately, all of my episodes release for free on public feeds, but if you'd like to support this show and get early access to episodes before they release to the public, consider becoming a member at colememo.com/Patreon. That's colememo.com/Patreon, because it costs a lot to do this show. Between licensing fees, the cost of travel, I just went up to Wilbur Wright Community College to radicalize the youth. I shared my mini documentary, so it costs to travel and do this work. There's equipment costs and so much more. And this show is brought to you, this whole project is brought to you by listeners like you. So if Patreon's not your thing, you can make a one-time monthly or yearly contribution at colememo.com/support. And if you can't support financially, that's totally fine. One of the best ways to support is by smashing that like button, sharing the show with your friends, or leaving a positive review from wherever you're listening from. So yeah, let's do it. It's time for another episode of
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo is what allows this whole thing to go on.
I mean, you have to respect the memo.
Hey, this is Tommy Chong, and you're listening and watching The Cole Memo.
Once again, we're live on YouTube, so if you want to drop a comment, feel free to. And before we get into the show, I just have to say, I love these drinks. I love cannabis drinks, but specifically these Cantrip drinks. They're naturally derived. They're infused, rather, with naturally derived THC. And if you go to drinkcantrip.com/Cole Memo, you can get 10% off your order, and I get 10% to buy more drinks. So I feel like it's, help me help you. They've also got a 420. They've got 420 sales going on right now. Actually, on these specific sodas, I believe today you can get like 15% off. These are 50 milligram sodas. So, if that's not your dosage, they do have lower doses. I like the strong drinks though. So yeah, consider checking those out. Thank you, Satisfied Mind, for dropping a comment. I don't even know what that is. Is that a cat in a box? I can't tell. Anyways, let's talk about these new changes to the patient portal. So this is actually something that I've been saying is going to happen since January of 2023. So here's an article that I just updated. This is from January 2025. In the article, I mentioned, and you can actually even click on this. This is an old episode I did, I believe, on my old podcast, where I say, during a January 4th, 2023 meeting with the Office of the Cannabis Regulation Oversight Office and the Illinois Department of Health, Michael Morthland shared that the state was working on a new portal for medical cannabis patients and caregivers. He explained that this initiative aims to streamline access and enhance the user experience for both groups. And I'll just remind you that, what I'm doing with this, I just try to share what I hear so that you can be better prepared before things like this come up. If you haven't been a patient for a while, the last time we did a portal transition, it was super bumpy. And as I mentioned in this episode that's linked right here, I reiterated that to the Illinois Department of Health, and they said they do their best to communicate these changes ahead of time. And it looks like they're doing that. So if you go to colememo.com right now, on the homepage, the top article is headlined "Potential Changes to Medical Cannabis Patient Portal and Seed to Sale in Illinois." Again, this is an article that I wrote in January of this year, and I just went ahead and updated the article and added the email that was sent out. So today, on April 16th, the Illinois Department of Public Health's Division of Medical Cannabis sent out an email to all registered patients and caregivers announcing the launch of a new online registration portal for the medical cannabis patient program and the opioid alternative program. According to the email, the new system will go live on Tuesday, April 29th, 2025, and it's designed to be more user-friendly and mobile compatible across both Apple and Android devices. This is an important point. Patients and caregivers are encouraged to create a new login and password now by visiting this link, which again, go to colememo.com if you're listening to this now. I'll have this linked in the show notes. And by the way, if you're listening to this live, whenever I say that, I go back after the fact and add links to the show notes. So if you're looking for the link now, I can drop it in the chat for people that are tuning in live. Or like I say, go over to colememo.com. But yeah, if you're a patient or caregiver, they are recommending that you create a new login and password now. So I'll have to make sure I get that done. They also created an FAQ about the switch to the new system, and they encourage patients and caregivers to read through the FAQ page. Maybe I can show that here. And if you have any additional questions, you can contact them at DPH. You can get their email address. So let's look at this FAQ. Is the new mobile system mobile compatible? Yes, it's mobile compatible. There's a bunch of different questions. So if you have any questions, check out this FAQ. I think the big thing is if, and they mention this in the email, if you're currently going through a renewal or you're about to be in renewal, apparently, let's see where it says this. If your medical cannabis registration is set to expire, or if you have corrections due between April 15th, which is starting yesterday, and May 29th, you will automatically be granted an extension until May 30th. So I guess that's kind of cool. But they are encouraging you to log in to print a card with the extended date before 5 p.m. on April 22nd, which is like literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days from now. So a little bit of a tight turnaround. I wish they would have given people a little bit more of a heads up. But again, I kind of wanted, this is why I wrote this article back in January, because I wanted to kind of give you a heads up that this was coming. I hadn't seen anybody else really talk about this. Like I said, I mentioned it in 2023, but it's easy to forget those things. A lot has happened in the last 2 years, right? So I wanted to that's why I wrote this article in January. With it being 2 years, I figured this was coming around the corner. And I even wrote a message to the state, which they didn't give me great answers on. But when I did some digging on the bid buy announcement, which you guys can check out, I've actually even got some documents uploaded. I think I figured out what the new system is. And that's one of the things that this announcement was lacking. Like, I don't know, maybe to some people, it doesn't matter what the new system is. They're just going to, set up the new username and password. But to me, I'm very detail oriented, and I wanted to know, what is this new system, right? And so I'm displaying on my screen right now some documents where they show the current state integration with IntelliTrack, which is our current medical cannabis patient portal. And then if you scroll to this next document, it shows what the future state integration will look like. And instead of being IntelliTrack, it says it's going to be Salesforce. If you Google Salesforce medical cannabis, I think you get some results. Let's try it out. Yeah, you get some results. You can see here, I just Googled Salesforce medical cannabis, and you have Salesforce app, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm detail oriented. I want to know what these systems are, even though maybe to some people it doesn't really matter. You just log in and get your card. So yeah, that's That's basically the size of it. We got a question in the chat that I will acknowledge here. Genetic Memory Farms says, "I'm listening while I cook, so hit me again. What all do we have to do? Create a new name and password." Yep, do that. Do it quick. And if you've got an extension due between the deadlines that they have laid out in the email, make sure you print off the card that they, I guess, will have granted to you with an extended date. They say that yeah, if your card is due or set to expire between April 15th and May 29th, then you're automatically granted an extension until May 30th. If you're in that group of people, be sure to log in and print that card out with the extended date before April 22nd. So hopefully that's a small group of people. Hopefully it's nothing that anybody gets largely affected by. And hopefully this whole transition is smooth because, again, as I said in the past, the transition to IntelliTrack was anything but that. It was very bumpy. I covered it on the show in the past. How would I, if you're interested in looking into that, I can try to find that episode here. But while I look into that, I am going to play a message from our sponsors.
Here in the Midwest, growing amazing food isn't just a hobby, it's who we are. And that's why we created Envy Plant Foods. Whether you're working on a farm or starting a backyard garden, growing hot peppers for sandwiches, or cool lettuce for a chopped salad, Envy has the perfect plant food for you. Blended in Illinois since 1962. Support the Cole Memo and save. Get 10% off fertilizer for your wheat garden at envyplantfoods.com with code CHILL10. Plus, an additional 10% of your order will go to the Cole Memo to help fund the show. Again, that's envyplantfoods.com.
Cannabis Critique says, "Ooh, yeah." So there's new stuff with the patient portal. Should be interesting to see how this develops. I can't find the episode that I was just referring to, but I'll do a deeper dive and throw that link in the show notes if people want to check it out. Like I said, the last time we did a transition like this, it was anything but smooth. And I did a whole report where I talked to different patients. I worked with the state. I worked with doctors that had issues with the new portal because it wasn't only problems that affected patients and caregivers. There were problems that were affecting physicians. It was actually making some physicians have at least from what they told me, a pretty hard time registering new patients or updating information for cannabis patients. So fingers crossed, none of that happens again. But in any case, I just wanted to give you a brief update on what had happened today. Once again, you can take a deeper dive if you just go to thecolememo.com. As of today, I've got this article at the very top of my website. It's headlined "Potential Changes to Medical Cannabis Patient Portal and Seed to Sale in Illinois." You can go back and listen to the podcast when I first reported this would be happening all the way back in 2023. You can see some of the information that I found with online sleuthing, looking through some of these documents and their bid buy announcement, which is not anything I've ever done, but I was just like, I've got the time. Let's look through this shit. I've also, because again, this article is about potential changes to the seed to sale portal. I've interviewed people about how Metric is. I've got 2 interviews out, and let's just say that the interviews that I read or that I conducted, they didn't have really good things to say. They noted that Metric has a track record of technical issues, including system downtime, which has caused serious operational disruptions in other states. You hear about it sometimes, I think, on 420, which of course is right around the corner. These challenges, they explain, could lead to delays at dispensaries and require extensive staff training, which it looks like the state is doing in conjunction with Metric. So maybe we'll be good there. Hopefully, I hear that some of the employees at the state read my content, so hopefully they heeded these warnings and are working to change some of these things. I will say that one of the things that I wrote about was that the RFID tags are both expensive and non-recyclable. It sounds like they are trying to at least address this part of it, them being expensive. The state, in their announcement for Metric, said that something like within reason, they will pay for the RFID tags for licensees. So, you know, maybe they heard our episodes. Maybe they heard some of these problems. So yeah, if you're interested to learn more about what that could look like I said, if you check out this article, I've done some interviews with people that have extensive experience with metric, and yeah. Cannabis Critique says it was kind of the bump and grind you didn't want to be a part of. I'm thinking you might be talking about the transition. And Satisfied Mind says wasteful. Yeah, it sucks. These RFID tags, you'd think that they could, be recyclable, be repurposed in some way, shape, or form, but it doesn't sound like they are, which is a real shame because the cannabis industry, in my opinion, my humble opinion, already contributes enough waste. This whole movement was supposed to be about being green, man, pun intended, but also like, economically mindful and stuff. Weed's gonna save the world. We're gonna make our fucking shoes out of, all those things. We're gonna make our cars out of hemp, man. None of that really came to fruition yet, but it's the hope. We shouldn't lose sight of that. Satisfied Mind says largely impactful to the environment. And I guess just before I go, I do want to say that I also wrote about Illinois, the transition to metrics. So if you're curious about what all of those details are, I've even got some documents from the state you can read through yourself. I think it's always important to include those primary source documents instead of just writing an article about it, because I don't know about you all, but writing an article is great, but sometimes I just want to read it for myself. So that's why I try to do what I do with regard to that. Be right back after this message.
Sun-Drenched Farm is the manifestation of my dream to be able to provide for my family through offering natural alternative forms of healing and wellness, the same forms that I've been so fortunate to experience on my journey in healing from Lyme disease. With in-house cultivation, solventless extraction, and final product manufacturing, we're able to offer the highest quality product that you can find now at sundrenchedfarm.com.
Silly me. I just realized in the article that I am referencing, I was really trying to find you guys that episode, some of the recent stuff that I found. If you read in the article that I've been talking about this whole time, I wrote, "What is the point of this article?" And I said the last time Illinois transitioned its patient portal for the medical cannabis program, the process was anything but smooth. Patients and physicians face technical issues and delays, making it difficult to access their accounts or complete essential tasks. Now, with the state planning a new patient portal and a transition to a new seed to sale tracking system, I can't help but wonder how these changes will affect patients and customers in Illinois. So I drafted this article in an attempt to keep Illinois medical cannabis patients, caregivers, adult use customers, and industry participants informed about these upcoming developments and their potential impact. And if you see right here and right here, there are 2 links to episodes that I've done. Actually, one of them is an article by the Chicago Tribune where they talk about Illinois allows medical cannabis patients to buy from any dispensary after computer glitch disrupts service. Clarity here, wasn't any adult use dispensary, or maybe it was. I don't fucking remember at this point. This was in 2021. So, take that, do some deeper diving. It's hard for me to remember anything from that long ago. But this link specifically was a report that I did with physicians, and I spoke to some patients and kind of gathered their perspectives. And you can watch all of that in this article. Like I said, if you're just curious about the history and want to know what the hell happened in the past, that'll give you a better idea with regard to that. So once again, thank you everybody for joining. Oh, and before I go, somebody said disposable vapes. Yeah, dude, disposable vapes are awful. Super bad for the environment. One thing that it's nice when the disposable vapes are at least rechargeable. I don't know about you all, but sometimes you get a disposable vape that isn't rechargeable and then you don't even get through the vape and you have to throw out fucking cannabis oil and a battery into the goddamn landfill. And it, as you can tell, it makes me upset when that happens. So, yeah, that's a great point. And again, I just hope you appreciate, all I'm trying to do here is just give you a heads up because these sort of transitions have not been smooth in the past. So I guess the long story short is check out this article, get yourself familiar with the dates when these transitions will happen for both the patient portal and the metric transition. And what I would say is if you rely on cannabis from a dispensary, make sure you buy it before these dates approach, if at all possible. Just trying to help you out because it might be bumpy and I want you to stay high, man. So, yeah, keep it groovy. And smash that like button if you haven't already. Really would appreciate it. And if you've subscribed and you're wondering, or if you're listening to this after the fact and you're like, how did I miss this live? This was totally impromptu. I saw this announcement. I got the email in. It's been a long day. Like I said, I went to a community college up north to do a showing of my mini documentary, which you can watch now at colememo.com/minidoc, completely free. I was radicalizing the youth. I got home, saw this email, and I was like, I need to update that article that I wrote a few months ago. I don't even know when the hell I wrote this. When did I write this? January 22nd, 2025. So, yeah, check it out. Check out the material I've put out there. I hope it's helpful, and I hope that the transition is smooth. That's the goal in trying to be transparent and open about all these different things. Like, just trying to help you, help the state, all those things. So, cheers, everybody. Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. Bye.